Hi guys, I'm so glad you're here. We're going to talk about math strategies for the basic operations. Will and I are hoping that this will help you during testing. So Will, you can step on up.
Sure thing.
And we are supplying you with all kinds of manipulatives. So you have those at your tables. You also have marker boards if you want to work these out as we talk about them. So hopefully that'll help you. Do you have your pen?
Fine.
That is real.
There we go.
Okay, and it says, why are they needed? We talked about the GMAT scores, and if you'll notice, we've kind of been declining in the past 2 years. We're hoping this year it's a little bit better. However, we just thought, we need to work on some of these strategies, some of the basic needs of the students. Our high population is running a little bit stressed on the basic skills. So, with addition, subtraction, and even multiplication facts that they're having a hard time. So we're going to go over some of the different strategies that came from number talks, and we've talked about it before, but we just thought a refresher would be good. And if you'll make sure your phones are cut off, that would help us out.
Thank you.
The varying strategies for different learners. That we need to differentiate, and that we have a wide plethora of students, so we need to make sure that we focus on that. And GMAT scores. Sad but true.
Very sad. As you can see, our 2015 scores, of our 162 students that tested, 116 of them were meeting that high to typical growth, which is showing 72%. Perfect. 28% not meeting that growth. Fast forward 1 year later, we actually have one less student scoring in the typical and high growth area, but yet we had 17 more students testing. So therefore, only 64% of our students are actually meeting the growth that we're searching for, while 36% were not meeting that growth. Those are the students scoring 1s and 2s on the GMAS in math.
Okay, and we talked about this came from number talks. We've all worked on that a little bit already. And we're going to talk about the friendly numbers, removal system, the doubling and halving, and the associative property. Okay, friendly numbers. You know that we've talked.
I'll let you get started. I'm going to pass out some
materials. Okay, thanks. What you're doing is you're trying to go to the multiples of 10 for easier addition. If you look on it, it works on rounding, reasoning, and then that way you don't have to group. They have a really tough time when you start regrouping. I'm old school. That's the way I learned. But with all these different strategies that they've come up with, some of the kids are reached much better with these strategies. And so this way they can do a little bit different, but they all get the same answer, and the kids have an easier time. Not all, but a lot of them. So, for instance, if we have 38 plus 37, Will's giving you some of the manipulatives and the board so that you can work this out. We make it into 40 plus 40 because we just rounded up. We added 2 to the 38, we got 40, 3 to the 37, and we got 40 again. And then it's to 80. Those are a little bit easier numbers to work with because they've rounded it. All they've got to do is forget the 0, add 4 plus 4, or think about their benchmark numbers, and they all know how to count by 10. So that helps them out a lot. Then we've got to subtract the numbers back out that we've added in. We added 2 here, we've added 3 here. So we've got to take that back out, and therefore it turns to 75. So hopefully that's not too tough. If you have some questions, just let me know. And also, Will's walking around and helping you out. Now, the removal system, it requires them to break the septuagint down into tens and ones for simple subtraction. We have 62 minus 37. Now, it's also going to work on the place value. It's going to work on addition, and it reinforces their basic facts. So 37 is broken down into 30 plus 5 plus 2. So we've actually taken this apart. We use 2 because we're going to begin with the 62. So you begin by taking away the 2 from the 62 to make it a 60. Then the 30 is taken away to 30. Lastly, 5 is taken away to equal 25. All that sounded like a lot. And as you know, you already know the strategies, but when you're working with the students, it's a little bit tougher. So I came up with some ideas on your differentiation piece. There's a lot of websites we'll go over at the end as well. But you can just use your base 10 blocks. You have your example here, and you've got the 3 10s and the 4 1s. we can break one of those 10s down into 10 ones and just slide it over here. That way, when we subtract, it's a whole lot easier. It is regrouping. They just don't realize it's actually regrouping because they're using those blocks. So they're able to count them down or count them up and come out with the same answer. Same thing with your money. Your dimes are just 10s and your pennies are 1s. So all they do is trade out one of the dimes and make it into pennies, and then that way they're able to reach it as well. And some of the kids, you know, they need those hands-on activities. All right?
All right.
And Mac's going to talk to you about multiplication, and I'll help you out if you need help.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. All right, so one of the basic strategies of multiplication that can really help out students is the doubling and halving strategy. And this requires you taking one of your numbers and, as the title says, doubling it, and taking the opposite number and halving it. Okay? Obviously, with certain situations, you don't have a choice. If it's an odd number and an even number, you have to double the odd and half the even. But in our situations, such as our example, 24 times 16, that is a situation where we can double or half either number. So as you can see here in my example, we doubled 24 and we halved 16. One of the reasons we chose 16 to half was because it was already closer to 0. And if you're already close to 0, it's going to be a lot shorter to half it all the way down to 1 or 2 or 4. So as you can see, my 24 became a 48 and my 16 became an 8. I was like, well, I can do this again. So I turned my 48 into 96 and my 8 into a 4. Now, some of you out there are already probably thinking, well, isn't doubling 48 almost as complicated as the problem itself? And I would say no, because onto the side of my paper, if I wanted to just add, I could do 48 plus 48 rather quickly and get 96. Also, I could use some of the strategies that Ms. Brown previously talked about for addition, and I could make friendly numbers, and I could say, well, 50 plus 50 is 100. Take away 4 gives me 96. So in this doubling and halving strategy, not only am I talking about multiplication, but it's building on my friendly numbers.
But Mr. Mack, just like that, I have an easier time with the benchmark numbers, the friendly numbers. So the 50 works for me better. All of the other, I start getting confused. So I'm one of those who has to go to the benchmark numbers.
And some of the stuff you can do in your head, Ms. Brown, and some of the stuff putting it over on the scratch paper will make it easier to work with. And as we can see here, if I take my 24 and my 16 and I start doubling and halving, and doubling and halving, I can start to see it a little bit better here in terms of what I'm going to be doing. And then lastly, I'm looking at 192 times 2, which could lead me into my next number talk strategy, or I can double and half it one more time. I can turn that into a 1, and I can turn this into 384. And any one of these problems that I'm like, I feel good solving that, they're all going to equate to the same thing of 384. So that is a really great way to knock out multiple different requirements and assessments all at the same time. Can my student add? Yes. Can they subtract? Can they divide? Can they multiply? Can they divide by 2? Can they multiply by 4? So using this strategy allows the teacher so many more assessment options and so much more information when it comes to students and their abilities to multiply. Okay? Any
so
questions?
you always pick one to double and one to half, right?
Always,
okay.
always. And as I said, in this example, I could double and half either of them. If I had a different example with an odd number, I would definitely want to double the odd number and half the even number. We don't want the kids dealing with 5 tenths or 75 hundredths or anything like that. I'm sure you guys understand why. All right? And our second multiplication strategy here, the associative property. Now, associative property, some of us have heard it. I don't know how familiar we are with it, but the associative property basically is going to require me to decompose or break down my whole number into parts, such as, so I'm going to use the same exact problem from my last example, 24 times 16. My 24 is going to become 20 and 4. My 16 will then become 10 and 6. So I'm really looking at place values. And then I'm going to just multiply my 20 times my 10 and my 20 times my 6. So I already know 20 times 10, 200. 20 times 6, 120. So I'm already mentally thinking, oh, that's going to be 320. My answer has to equal at least 320. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my 4, multiply by 10 to get 40. And now I'm going to multiply my 4 times my 6. So I'm making sure that I'm touching on every number multiple times over. And for those, those visual learners out there, if you need to see it, I recommend taking your place value blocks, which I see Ms. Brown going around and helping you with right now. Taking those and kind of moving them around. Take a 24, break it down into 20 and 4. Take your 16, break it down into 10 and 6. So you kind of see something like this. 20 times 10, 20 times 6, 4 times 10, 4 times 6. So we can see 10 plus 6 is 16, 20 plus 4 is 24, and now I'm just going to multiply. And I really like this strategy because, once again, just like what Ms. Brown talked about, friendly numbers, I'm multiplying by tens. Everybody can multiply by tens. We all know the secret 10 strategy of just putting a 0 at the end. Now I'm done. I'm ready to add. Guys, phones, please. Thank you. 2 plus 4 is 6, plus 2 is 8, and then 2 plus 1 is 3. What a surprise. I got 384 yet again. So regardless of the strategy you're using, you can see that doubling and halving, associative property, we're just giving students the different tools to feel successful in the classroom. Not everybody can solve with the standard algorithm. So that's why we need to go back and harp on these alternative techniques. Okay. Any questions? No? All right, Ms. Brown, I'll pass it back to you, ma'am.
Keep trying to click it with my finger. Some ideas for implementation is model. We always are told to do that, especially in reader's workshop, math workshop, writer's workshop. You have to model it. You just throw it in front of them, they're not going to know what to do. And just like you're working it out at your tables now, you need to model that. Show them how you're thinking. That way they don't think, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing. So model it out. A problem of the day is really helpful. You can give them some type of problem when they come in from morning work, during that homeroom time, bus room, that sort of thing.
Shouldn't last more than 10 minutes. I'd say you project the problem, show them the strategy you want them to work on, which you have previously practiced, and give them just a short 10 minutes. Either they have it or they don't. Once again, another quick assessment.
And don't make it too complicated because you don't want to get involved with it. It needs to be something, pretty
that
simple.
they can do independently.
Exactly. And during their guided math time, make sure you do those small groups, reinforce the skills, especially, when you are having that small group, you have time to work on what that child needs. So it does lend itself to differentiation big time. And have them compete in some races. The children are so competitive. Also, are some teachers, Mr. Matt.
Miss Brown.
And so they're competitive. So try a few competitions, and a lot of times you'll get them to react to that and start getting some of those skills. Some interactive sites. You know that Shepherd software really lends itself to differentiation. You're able to go to it, and the kids have all kinds of activities, all kinds of games, and it does tutor you as well. So that's a really good site. IXL, I know you got to pay if you get to a certain point, but I do a lot of small group stuff with it and a lot of whole group stuff and work through those kind of things. And so until you have to pay for it, you have a few things you can do on it. Soft Schools is another great site. And Education Galaxy that we got this year, I think has worked really well. Have you worked with it?
Yes,
I haven't had the opportunity to work with Education Galaxy
Yes,
yet.
guys, for Education Galaxy, it offers both reading and math. We're focusing strictly on the math, and it gives them a test first, kind of see where their skills are lacking. Then it will build paths, very similar to Odyssey, if you're familiar with Odyssey from our previous years. And it will build a path to kind of help the student reach mastery of those skills. So on the bottom of their homepage, when they first begin, you might see 12 to 15 different standards. You would hope after a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks go by, the 12 has maybe dwindled to 7 or maybe dwindled to 6 because they've practiced and they've become more proficient. So Education Galaxy, in addition to the other 3 sites, highly recommend it at home for practice, as class for practice.
And if you think about it, you're hitting on every modality. You've got the manipulatives, you've got the interactive sites, and then you've got your expertise. Woo! Oh, that was our resources. Sorry, I just flipped past it.
Here, in case any of you guys are wondering, we keep referencing Number Talks,
I can't even see
and
it.
Sherry Parrish is the one who
Thank you.
wrote this text. No
Sorry,
problem.
I went right past
So,
that.
if you have further questions, that book is easily accessible, and there are even more strategies in there if you wish to dig a little deeper with your class. Some of you guys might be able to handle it. Some of you probably just want to start real slow, just one strategy this year.
And we really appreciate you coming out. I know that some of you are wanting some ideas and you're struggling because we're slightly overwhelmed with a lot of different things this year. So we thought maybe this would help. We've gone over the number talks before, but we were really quick through it. And we thought these are definitely some of the activities you might want to try with your students. We're going to give you some time to work through some problems, and we're going to circulate and help you out if there's any questions. And just thanks for coming out. We really appreciate it. I know it was during a hectic time, so thank you for letting us lead this, and thank you for helping us get through it as well.
Yes. Nothing else here. Practice these skills with your students. Model it. Have them do it. Share it together. Have 1 or 2 students maybe each day come up, show you some different techniques that they're using to solve these problems. So show them as much as you can. It's only going to benefit them. If they get confused, you'll pass them on to the next teacher next year anyway, so just A-okay. Okay?
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.